documents that I've done for organizations that will be giving reference to as we continue checking through the process of writing the document. Thank you, Diana, for coordination once again. And we resume, we take it up now to look at the aspects of drafting this document. So today, being the strongest and most stronger finishing for us and the team, we are going to look at the rough writing, and in this chapter, which is the last one of it, talks the introductory chapter. When we are doing a document and writing a strategic plan, ladies and gentlemen, we are keen to ensure that our document has a good introduction. Our document needs to have a very good introduction, and therefore it is important to factor that. And when you are having an introduction, ladies and gentlemen, there are several elements in the introduction of the document. We look at several things, and also in this chapter, we are going to look at how do we then describe a strategic direction. How do we do and now put down the strategic analysis or the scanning that we have been doing for organization, and the writings and the SWOT, the PESTEL, the plot, the gap analysis, the 5As, all the what you call the corporate levels. Now we get to a point of now putting down exactly what we've been getting. Then we also look at strategic objectives and strategies. Very important. We have labored in data collection. Now we get to a point of being able to write the document and writing objectives that will now be used as a tool of ensuring that there's realization of the vision of the organization. So we also do how to do a implementation framework. How do we develop, or rather draw a framework that will now be utilized for the purpose of implementing the document that we've come up with. We'll also look at the control, monitoring, and evaluation aspects, so that we see which plan, how do we write an implementation plan? How do we write an implementation plan? Finally, we need to look at what will be annexed to the annexures, what will be an attachment to the document. Remember, there are those people who will be keen on just going to the back, at the back of the document to check what has been attached as an annexure. And without going deeper into the document, they should still be able. Now we have the linguistic thinkers who think with words. There are those who are numerical thinkers who think with figures. And logical who think with structures again. So those who believe in numbers will probably just go straight to the back of the document to be able to understand figuratively what the document is all about. And so at the introduction of this document, we do a bit of the background. We write a lot about the background. And when we are writing about the background of the organization, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing a lot of description about who we are, what about us. If we are writing it for a company, for example, this about us would really tell more about what we believe, not as the values, but our history, our background, our identities. Just a write-up, which should not go more than 2 pages. Just a write-up about the organization. Established, which year was it established, and what has it been doing in the past, what has it been collaborating with, the line of business that has been undertaken. And then the second element, when you are writing now 1.2 of the first chapter, we'll be looking at the management and governance structure. That is where we introduce the organogram. We must clearly know and understand who reports to who, where decisions are made, and therefore where is the influence from this organization. Looking at organization organogram, you can realize, you can basically know who calls shots in that organization. There are those who come up with a CEO and they come up with a board of managers, management directors. There are those who come up with purely a lead person. There are those who come up based on how the structure they have come up with that now fits to the mission and the organization's purpose, mandate. So the management structure really describes how things are done in that organization, how decisions are made, who is be considered for what decision. And again, governance is not just about management. We have used the two terms. When you are writing a script on management, that is more about how do we maximize profits, how do we maximize on use resources. Governance is you are writing about governance is basically how do we coordinate with non-state actors, other bodies that are not closely related to us. So how do we relate with other organizations in terms of governance, being able to bring diversity and being able to connect with the politics that would otherwise have interfered with the operation of the management of the organization. So when you write a script about management, is about how the organization works for the maximization of margins and profits. Governance is how the organization works in relation to other establishments. So the structure, and usually in an organization, when a matter happens, for example, and there is need for a media reporting, we must know from the organogram, as you're writing, who should be consulted, who should appear before the camera to explain the position of the organization. Is it the director? Is it the CEO? So based on the structure, you'll be able to see and know from the description who then stands to explain when such matter arises. And then finally, at 1.3 in this document, 1.2 should be another 1.5 pages. 1.5 pages, management and structure, just 1.5 pages, how the organization works. Now, depending on the complexity, because we have organizations that have like ideally 20 branches across the world, across the continent. So that structure becomes wider, and in terms of description, we write a lot of it. And therefore, the pages I'm talking about, 1.5 pages, may not necessarily stand. The strategic planning process. Now, we are now talking about how did we reach to the point of coming up with a strategic plan. In this introductory chapter of this document, ladies and gentlemen, we now start describing the processes that are usually undertaken within the confines of the policy within that organization. How is the process undertaken? We start. Number one, the tenders were issued, the bids were done, the selection process was undertaken, and then you are the best fit for the job. You did the interview and you are given the job to take the mandate. So their process is the more procurement, one, and then two, the ideal process of now doing the document. How was the process done? Now, as a person writing this document, you are to explain to us how you carried out the process of writing the document. How did you carry out? Number one, after having a meeting with the what you call the terms of reference, the TOR, the terms of reference, you came up with a committee, or rather the organization came up with a committee, a strategic plan development committee that championed the process. Therefore, from there, you started selecting a sample population that you interviewed for the purpose of data collection. As you describe that in prose, you are describing the process procedurally, one after another. Remember, when you come up with a procedure that is not tamper-proof, that when you are writing a process that is not standardized, then anyone serious will be able to doubt your findings. Remember, the method really determines the results, and therefore, when you are writing a strategic plan and you are writing a strategic plan process in this introduction, always convince the reader the process was tamper-proof, the process was standard, the process was acceptable and consultative. And so you write one, you write how you collected the data. Number two, how the data was processed, and how the findings would look like. For example, I want to just get one of the documents of one organization here so that I'm able to read out the process of undertaking the document. According to this document, their process is getting to it. Okay. So according to the document I have, one of the strategic plans, I will not mention for the purpose of security. It is not copyrighted. So number one, we came up with what we call a methodology under strategic planning process. So the review of the previous strategic plan and the eventual development of this plan went through the following process. So we start, one is data collection. This data was collected, processed, and solutions advocated. So how did we collect the data? There were issues of focus group discussion. And remember, this is for a strategic planning process. We must ensure that we do focus group discussion. It's one of the ideal method of getting solution, getting things from stakeholders, getting stuff from stakeholders, where you group people, set a question for them, they discuss and they come up with issues, they submit issues in terms of presentation. So you are describing how even any stakeholder, for example, financiers of this organization, will look at your level of engagement with the stakeholders and agree that indeed this document has gone through a process that it will be acceptable and easy to be implemented. But if you have not gone through such kind of focus group discussion, in-depth interviews, discussions, questionnaires, informal interviews, if that has not gone through, it will be easily assumed that this document was manufactured in the bedroom. And that makes anyone reading to doubt the credibility of your strategic objectives finally when you be doing it. But when these things have come from members, remember a colleague here mentioned the issue of hostility. When you go to organizations to start collecting data, they feel like you're coming to retrench people, to cause people lose their jobs. But at the moment you have subjected your process to this level of consultation, as you're describing in your writing, you convince anyone serious that this is a document for the people, not for the consultant. And so the process of writing must be described in terms of the method of data collection, how the data was collected, and specific units of focus that were undertaken, and with feedback that really came out in those processes of data collection. Now, when we finally now come to the second chapter, now the first chapter has addressed three areas. The background, where the background of the organization has addressed issues of methodologies, has addressed issues of management and structure. So we are writing about the background, their management structure, and the method that you have used to collect this data. Basically, the process of undertaking the process, how you interacted with the people, what you did find out from the people, and what do people say largely in the entire process. So that when you have advocated for a change of a vision statement, ladies and gentlemen, it is agreeable by anybody reading the document that indeed people thought that it is necessary to have this adjustment. And sometimes when you are doing this process, you ensure that you do even the percentage. How many people did you meet percentage comparatively? Because we are doing a sample population. It's not a research paper yet, but it is a model of a research paper. How many people, for example, an organization has 10 staff, and you say you met one person, that sample population cannot necessarily, a 1% or rather 10, may not necessarily give you good material to argue out a case for strategic objective. But have at least an average. We usually do between 21 to 27% of the population. You sample them, and then you are able to carry out the collection of data. Now, second chapter, remember these topics are basically the full-fledged chapters that are going to be in the strategic plan document. So the second chapter, 2.1, now the strategic plan theme. remember, we must come up with a theme. If we don't come up with a philosophy, a theme for that particular period that we are covering for strategic plan, we may necessarily miss out our focus. Remember, we have a bigger vision statement, and our theme is just an attribution from the vision statement. So we come up with a theme. The theme for the year is to transform the organization into an ICT hub. If our focus theme for the year is ICT integration, so that the entire organization will be ICT centric, that it's very technological savvy and has a lot of application in its utility. And so if that becomes the theme for the organization, you describe the theme, because you dropped a hint to the team members when you are interacting in the data collection. And we came up with a theme for the year. In organization, they come up with a theme of maybe profit margin. They will come up with a theme which will be maybe customer-centric approach. They will come up with a theme that will probably look at expansion as a theme for the period. Remember, the period of the strategic plan can be 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. So for the 10 years, all our eyes are on the theme that is just born of the vision. So you describe that theme, how you came up with the theme, and how the theme fits, connects closely with the vision statement of this organization. And then 2.2, we look at the organization's identity. What are the unique things about us? The identity, what stands out for us as an organization? What stands out for us as the Community Breakthrough Support Mission? The uniqueness that comes out, anybody reading about Community Breakthrough must be able to connect with 2 or 3 items. Our uniqueness could be how our departments function. Our uniqueness could be about our culture, which would be like our branding aspect. How is our branding done? How have we brought down the units of management that our decisions are made this way? So the organization identity could be something that stands out, that which really other organization would admire, or any market any competition would be out to focus on. So an identity can also be our brands. So our signature products can be our identity. So if we are doing, for example, a business, and now we are writing a strategic plan and we are describing our identity, we say we are identified. You realize that Coca-Cola has a lot of tests to advertise for Coke as a soda. They do others like Sprite. They do other products. They do like Crest. I've hardly seen that Crest being advertised. But Coke, being on the Coke side of life, every time they're opening Coke. So their identity will be their product, their uniqueness in their product. So our product, we can describe our product, every item, so that now we have 2.2.1 talking about product number 1. This is the product. And describe clearly how this product now is so good that it meets the standards of our vision and the market test. So you describe it. This requires very good language that describes this product, that will attract people reading and understanding that our products are very unique, our services are very unique, or our programs, or rather our projects that we undertake within the program are unique enough to meet the demands, the global demands, the local demands, the authority demands, or rather regulatory demands, and basically the market itself. And then after identifying that, we now do 2.3. This is where now the heart of every organization is, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, now we are writing the vision statement that has been amended or has been accepted by the stakeholders at the point of engagement. We write the vision statement in its natural description from their discussion we have had. Remember, the data collection was geared towards ensuring that we are shaping up things to aligning our visions, aligning our objectives to the vision statement. And therefore, we now write the vision statement in a good language. Remember, we talked about the attributes of vision statement. We don't get into that. But now we describe the vision statement. The organizational identity takes 2 to 3 pages. Just describe it, depending on the complexity of this organization. Depending on how organization is branded, how it's organized and things, activity they do to the communities, activity they do to the society, how they partner with government to do things, how they partner with technological organizations that help their service delivery smooth and seamless. So we can be we say 2 to 3 pages. The vision statement has to be given its own page. Now, the vision, mission, and values must be given their separate identity. The vision statement is taking its own page. We are not mixing them with a lot of words. Let it be described what we stand for, so that anybody reading can be able to be captivated by the reading of the vision, that he wants to go to the next page to look at the mission statement. So the mission statement, which is board of the vision, again has to describe in detail what it stands for. The mission statement and the vision statement must or should be in one page. However, depending on the number of values that we have nominated to be utilized here, the number of pages might vary now, because we'll be talking about integrity, one of the values. Maybe we say godliness, one of the values, humility, one of the values, excellency. So when you talk about excellence, remember I've been emphasizing that you must describe the context under which excellency is our vision, is our value. The excellency described in different circumstances might not be the same. So when we go to talking about the core values 2.5, we list the vision statement, the mission statement, or the values of that particular case. For example, integrity. Describe what integrity is. What is it applicable? How is it applicable to our vision? How is it applicable to the organization's functioning? As a body or as an organization, we believe in doing this for our society, our market, or our competition, as a way of meeting the standard of excellency. And then you go list one by one and describing the core values, each statement in its own nature. Good language, again, is needed here. I've always said the background in communication is very important, and training in basic communication is important for anybody who then wants to become a good strategic planner, because you need to be able to write well. If you don't write, you may have collected good data, but your writing may make the document be invalidated by stakeholders. So good language here, appealing language, would really matter a lot when you're doing a good writer in this document. And then we do an organizational philosophy, basically a philosophy that catches. Sometimes those who say they have a school, they have a motto, but for organization they have a philosophy. What do they believe for? Maximum realization of human potential, like a philosophy, for example. So if that becomes a philosophy, a guiding principle, a motivation or energy, and a synergy that gives us an incentive to move, a punch. So you come up with a philosophy and describe that philosophy again as on its own page. Of course, the core values would have covered, depending on the number of core values, they will cover 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 pages. Then the organization philosophy also comes in to be described also separately as a statement. Then we come to what we then call drafting, what we call strategic analysis. A strategic analysis here is what I want to bring on board people to participate. But I'll guide you here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll guide you here. Let me just do this and get back to my video. As I go back to my video, I hope you are able to still see my screen.
I think you put it off, then you reshare again because it is just like you are on my site inaonekana kama your profile picture.
Okay, so you can't see it?
We can see it, but
Yes.
yeah, it's not on presentation mode.
Or maybe I'm the one who is having a problem.
No, I think I'm also facing the same challenge, and I've been struggling to see if I can do settings from my end, but I think it's a challenge now, not from our side.
The
Okay.
slides were
Okay.
visible. I don't know if I'm the
Yes.
only one who could see the slides. Anyone else who was able
Okay.
to see the slides? When you share your screen, at the moment
Yeah, I think
we can,
it's better now.
yeah, we can see.
That one
That
is
is
okay
better?
now.
That's
Very
better.
much okay.
Otherwise, for the last two slides we have just floated.
Sorry. I wish you guys stopped. Thank you.
They were
Sorry.
visible. I don't understand what the problem is today, but at the
uh,
moment we can see the screen.
so you
Is there anyone who was able to see the screen for the last two slides? Because I was seeing them very clearly.
Me as well, no.
I did say, but I
no.
didn't want to be quick to point out. I thought the problem was my end.
Uh, so let's. Do we need to go back to those slides? You see them?
Just take a snapshot. Yes.
Yeah. So these were we were talking about the strategic plan theme, the identity of the organization. You had it, the vision statement, the mission, core values, and organizational philosophy. So that is the. I have explained it, although now you did see it, but I think you can now be able to see what I was presenting about.
Yeah, it's now well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that correction. Now, strategic analysis, scanning aspects. Now we are coming to write the strategic analysis. And remember, we do a lot of data collection. And when you collect a lot of data, now it's a matter of analyzing and being able to write whatever you have collected. And so I want us to slowly, maybe a little bit, look at what will be contained at the pestle analysis. I have an example. I'm hoping you are able to even see me also. Are you able to
Yes,
see
we
me?
can see you.
Very
Yes,
well.
we can observe you.
Keep observing. Uh, Let me just get to show something, to display something here that is okay, so that we're able to see it also. How then an analysis will be done on pest level. Okay, so we want to do one here. Okay. Let's see how we can now do the pestle. I know we're having a pen and a paper. You're still able to see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, good. Okay, to see something here. Share something. So this is just one of the schools done for.
Banye muri hamwe.
Want to get to that particular point of pestle analysis that we're able to see it. What case here? Are you able to see?
Yes.
So this is a strategic plan for Kasoko.
Yeah, this is one of the schools. The current strategic plan that the school is using now. So look at this is pestle. Okay, pestle analysis. Now this is how we came up with the political aspect of the pestle. Now we were looking at identifiable issues that were identified when you are doing an hour pestle analysis. You are coming up with a strand, the factor or the variable, which is political factor or variable. And in this case, because it's an institution, in the next one we may get a different organization, maybe an NGO or a hospital. But for political aspect of NCDF, World Fund and county bursaries, it's an issue, it's a political advantage. So it's a factor that comes from outside, but the institution's well positioning will determine how best they can maximize on NCDF, World Fund, and county bursaries. So what are the strategic response? Because when you are coming up with these strands, you must also explain how do they capitalize on this political factor. So the school enjoys good relations with the CDF establishment, and thus this to lobby and increase the funding. So aspect of lobbying will ensure that we have capitalized on the political factor, then good politics and increase enrollment and growth. So aspect of good politics, if the politicians will choose to say that this school is not ours because of the leader is not ours, then you have enrollment affected. That's how politics may work, as a factor from outside. So whatever they say, the rhetorics will interfere with what comes out finally in terms of the numbers the school will have. And if the enrollment is very low, then basically they will be affected with many other things. That's our political factor. For environment of our school, so little will be done. So we don't do so much because these are already a government institution. Now, political
I have lost the presenter.
I seem to have lost the presenter.
Let's exercise patience as he restores his slides and presentation. While we wait for the trainer, we can use this time to sign the attendance. I'm sure most of us are usually distracted and with the training going on and signing the attendance. So the attendance has been shared on the chat section. You can just sign the attendance as we wait. So it's a link. You click on the link, you fill in your name and other details, your official name. Make sure your email is correct, and then your phone number also. You can start with the country code, not plus, and just plus 254. I can see there's a lot of conversations on in the comment section. People are introducing themselves. Maybe I can give a few of you to tell us how this training has been. Let us use this time to share how has the training has been and how has it impacted you personally or in your career. Do you think it has made an impact or do you think you're still where you are? And from the content that you've gotten, do you feel like you're comfortable when you see a strategic plan Are you able to identify key areas and why it was developed, and if it will work or if it will fail? So maybe I can open the floor. You can introduce yourself, where you're listening from, and what you do for work, and then you can let us know how your experience has been in general when it comes to learning about strategic plans. I think I'll allow Engineer Robert to go first because I've seen his name prominent in the chat section. So, Engineer Robert, maybe you can start us off. How has your experience been throughout the training, and what have you gained? Has it been of benefit? You are very excited about this training. Now, so far, how has it been? Anyone who would wish to share their experience in this training, while we wait for everything to be set up, we can just have someone comment or say something, because I think now that we've passed time, we may not have much time after the training.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Uh, I,
Yes, we
I
can hear you.
I don't know at what point I lost the team. I can imagine talking to myself for close to 5 minutes.
Yeah, we lost you really on political bit of the strategic plan phase.
Oh, okay, okay. Uh, Now, I think next time I should allow Diana to coordinate. This bleeding from my end, I talked to myself for long. I didn't realize it. I'm sorry for that, but we were looking at the pestle analysis, and we had used an example of this organization. And we looked at the political strand, where their strength, their issues, identifiable issues were on the CDF, ward and fund, county bursaries, and how they should position themselves for that particular strand. And then we are also looking at the economic aspect, which is the issue of poverty levels, HIV/AIDS, COVID-19, and the collapse of sugar industry. I remember saying that the institution is established within the sugar zone, and therefore as a factor, it has an effect that comes from outside. So if the collapse of industry really takes toll, it affects how school fees is paid in that institution. So similarly, if we were doing it for a company or a business, when the community, remember we are doing environment scanning, external, if the community is not able to have income to purchase the things you are selling, then you will still not be able to get. So social factor we looked at in this particular institution after data collection. We were keen to look at the issues of teenage pregnancy, the issue of child labor, COVID-19, polygamy, high birth rate, and negative social religious attitude. And teenage pregnancy is an issue that within the community where this school is established is an issue, and therefore comes from outside and has a way it affects the operations from the institution. Child labor affects how students will concentrate in class. COVID-19 influences also how basically interactivity in class, because again, schools might be closed down because of that. Polygamy, from what we found out, remember the disclaimer is we are talking about data that we collected, not any other factor. Then high birth rate is also political and arguable, and the state at which we collected this data, birth rate, a high birth rate was an issue. I know when we argue about birth rate, we'll say China has a bigger population, but still is one of the leading economies in the world. And so that aspect or factor will also contribute if it's properly utilized, has good market. But if it's not properly utilized, it can also affect how service is delivered to the institution and even the business that we work for. So technologically, we also looked at the e-commerce or e-communication, the digital inventory, where paperwork were done and writings are done, filings done, big archives. They will say, no, this can be done as an external factor because things are happening outside economically in the digital world, an aspect of ICT, and therefore we have to enhance the utility of technology in doing the meetings and reduce the computer, reduce enhance the utility of computer in general management. So positioning ourselves as as a institution, this particular school, was to really harness on the opportunities available at that aspect of technology so that they don't get the negative effect of that technology, but the positive one. Then issues of policies, school policies, how employment is done, how disciplinary processes are done, can also affect, because these are things that are already established in the documents, in law, in other charters. And so if you infringe on those two or three items, you not, as an institution, you do not able to run properly. You'll have a lot of litigations and court cases that will derail the delivery of the vision and the mission that you are already focused at. And so enhancing your consultation so that you avoid illegality. Utility of Education Act and General Contract and Contract for Workers, so that every employee must have a contract that is signed. When you are doing a disciplinary process, is based on the contract that they have signed, not based on in the air. So that becomes a good guide. So we looked at it in that institution. Then the environmental aspect, we encouraged aspects of green culture. So the green culture is something that is being advocated from outside, and that as well must be inculcated in school, lest the issues of shocks of climate effect will really be something to talk about. And so enhancing environment, policy issues of grants on the lawn, and issues of digitalizing the record so that we reduce the paperwork by around 15%. And so when we are now coming up with the strategic policies, or what to call the policy framework or the policy questions, must be based on these factors. So when we have analyzed this data all together, then we are able to develop what we call strategic objectives. We'll quickly be able to come to a strategic objective. I'm trying my level best not to lose you people. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
And so I'll go back to my document so that we are able to go through what we are doing. Okay. Now we have looked at pestle. When you are drafting a pestle analysis or a pest analysis, these are the things you look at in that organization. These are things you look at externally, what is happening with outside the environment of the business or the organization or the institution, and you list them that way. The other ways of listing them, you don't need to create a column. No, you can choose. If there are so many that you need to do a chart or a column that will just list them, there's a way of just putting them in prose and analyzing them in sentences, in long process and proverb, in paragraphs. So you can also list them, write them in paragraphs, and describe them detail per detail. And so, after looking at the pestle for that particular school, now if it were in a church environment, we will do a plot analysis. But because it was not a church environment, we could not do a plot analysis. If it were in a business environment, a profit entity, we would do a gap analysis. If it were any other environment, of course, gap and many other. But in this institution, there are a lot of external factors. However, there are internal factors that also must be considered. And so, I would want us again to go back to that institution. Maybe we get a different institution so that we now see. I want us to look at a plot analysis because we are learning how to write it. We are learning to learn how to. Let me go to a staging plan for a church environment so that we look at how would plot be done for a church environment. Okay. Let me get one church here. Okay. Let's see. I want to try that my level best not to lose you this time round. Okay. Church strategy. Okay, so let's do it. Getting one charge here. One charge. Let me do this. Okay. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
What are you seeing there?
On strategic analysis, still scanning.
Okay. Okay. So let me just end that so that I show you one for the church. Okay, end that. Stop presentation. Let me get to see how we did the plot. Okay, allow that to go. You can see that. Are you able to see what I'm showing here?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Let's see how we did the plot.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes.
Good, good, good. Mm, for the church, let's see. Plot analysis. Now this is it. Huh? You able to see clearly?
Yes, potential.
Yes.
Okay. So this is one of the churches we did one, and this is how we were analyzing the plot. Remember, if it were in a church environment, we would simply go to the plot. Pestle cuts across all organizations. But now, internally looking at things, if it were a church environment, we use plot. If it were business or many other organizations, we use SWOT. So we can use SWOT and pestle at the same time so that we scan deeper knowledge about things. There are small organizations that you don't need a pestle. You need a SWOT that only captures the internal, two elements of internal and two elements of external. But in this case, we used plot for the church. So what are the potential of the church? The factors that we established after the data collection. Networking by this district level, district elders and active zones, deacons. So aspect of networking, it was a potential. Now this team really networks very well. So that the district, because of the levels of the operation, they were coordinating very well. Then there's committed, experienced, and educated and mature elders in the leadership. So we have also looked at the labor because when we're doing an internal scanning, we're also looking at the qualification of the persons holding responsibilities. So we knew that they are committed, experienced, educated, and mature elders in the leadership. So they're able to make decisions and to guide the young generations. So uh, many of the T, that's a category. T was described in the acronym. The teenage category graduates in the congregation, nearly all elders are T graduates. So all of them have gone through the stages or what we call the learning processes that have really succeeded. So a number of the leadership that we had have gone through leadership development training. That was a strength, which is a potential. And then very tolerant, youthful, and informed, spiritual, mature, and willing to learn members. So we have a congregation in this particular body that is very youthful, informed, spiritually mature. They know how to handle themselves, and they are willing to learn, to lead and learn and lead others. So large membership, a catchment area that is large is a potential, and we noticed for that particular doctrine or church had that. So it has potential again of lively praise and worship. I mean, there's a lot of the feedback we get because when we are sending the Google forms for them to fill the questionnaires, we would get this and we analyze and get to see that a number of people are talking about the same thing. So we agreed in consensus that it is one of the potential of this body. Then strong and committed evangelism team, cohesion and among members, quality in lay and professional leadership, lay leadership. Huh? Then parish ministry and ICT compliance, elders are ICT compliant. So leaders have also been trained on ICT. So that was the potential of that particular ministry. So what were the limitations? Lack of structured programs to care for the widows. Now that was a gap that we discovered when we were collecting data. That the widows are not well taken care of in this body. There was lack of proper programs for spiritual growth, biblical Bible studies and follow-ups for the new converts. It was not well elaborate. And remember, when you are coming up with both potential and limitation, will guide the decisions of now coming up with strategic objectives. The strategic objectives, when we use the direct approach, we'll simply come to this and pick them. But when we are using the scenario approach or maybe other the goal approach, we now go to the goal. What are the goals? What are the gaps at the goal? And then finally come down to the to potential to plot and come down to pestle, and then we are able to collect information and be able to agree that 2 3 items are happening consistently. For them, they need to become as a strategic objective. And so one of the things, tithing records not well kept. So we discovered that in that particular ministry, the tithing records were not well kept. And so it becomes a challenge. Inability to identify and nurture gifts. So the issue of talent, harboring talent development was a gap. Many men not attending district fellowships, yes, happens. poor understanding of Presbyterian among the members, inadequate master planning, inadequate sanctuaries, and then insufficient meeting rooms, those kind of things, the poor many bureaucratic structures, that decisions are not made easily. So remember, we had to come up with a tilted approach to how structures are done in that particular body. Because the bureaucracy will not allow, like a need case will not be addressed direct to the priest because of several red tapes that have been created. So poor meeting attendance and district fellowship not being keen to service. So what the opportunities that really existed when we were doing the analysis, ladies and gentlemen, we discovered there is high demand of spiritual nourishment. It's an opportunity. If they capitalize on that, it grows. The support base and the goodwill, charitable organizations have access to donor funds, as a body has access, it's an opportunity, exchange or what twinning programs within the US and Britain. So they have a coordinated approach with other financiers from different bodies across the border. They're being near to the mission, near the Pokot, Turkana, etc. So they are close to these kind of people that need to be reached to. So it's an opportunity for them to harvest or win more souls, the presence of talent and professionals. So a hub of talent in the body of Christ, land for expansion was available, high potential for growth, ready market for the income generating activity that the body will come up with. An application of ICT to worship, connected to outreach programs, then young people are moving into the area. So young people are really moving into the environment where they are established. So it's an opportunity for them to reach out and evangelize and grow as a body. Then the rich history of the body. This church has a good history, but the same church has some threats. That there's an existence of ministries allied to the Pentecostal church. The existence of allied ministries. So other ministries would compete. They're competing, and others are denominations. You see now people are switching from this body to another one. It threatens the numbers. Negative publicity, the issue of church fundraising, that was internally a factor that we discovered, and of course from outside. But now, issue of fundraising would really raise a lot of questions. Lack of employment among the youth. People who are not employed, they will not give tithe, and therefore the baskets will be going empty. Sensitivity of political environment, of course, in the environment where it's established, issues of politics were very high. Insecurity, price of land also going high, lack of proper land ownership, documentation, and proper housing for families. The gap between the rich and the poor also affects externally and internally how the church would run. So this is in a nutshell what a plot analysis would be for the church environment. Remember, we have done a pestle for the school. We have done a plot for the church. Let's get back to our document. So we have very few slides. So we write the document. I'm hoping you're able to follow.
Very well.
Yes, we are following.
Oh, good. I would love that. Thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't want to lose you at all this time round. Thank you, Felista. Thank you. Thank you. So let us get back to our document. Let's get back to our document. So this is a point now. We have looked at a sample of a pestle. We have looked at a sample of a plot. So 3.3, when you are writing this document, remember this is the biggest, or rather the largest chapter of the document, because it carries the theme, it carries the heavy weight of the organization. How the environment is done, how the external issues are done. It gives birth to entirely a lot of stuff in that document. It's a whole chapter that will take close to 12 to 15 pages if it's well analyzed. Remember, there are places you will need graphs and charts to elaborate and explain several things here at the analysis stage. So, strategic issues. So when you have done that, depending on which method you have used to collect this data, sometimes we use SPSS to just analyze the data we have collected. So that now when you analyze, you're able to read and come up with consensus that this is an issue that needs to be given priority in the strategic planning process. And so, detailed strategic issues, and their areas per area. Like for example, one of the strategic issues that we have seen from the limitations, say in the church, the aspect of record for time. So one of the strategic issues we have, like, to enhance record keeping for one, management, finance, and administration. Enhancing record keeping, that becomes a strategic issue. So that now when you come to enhance strategic issue as a strategic objective, you now start splitting it down in details, structure per structure, how it should be done, with the targets and the cost implications. So I want us to go to the same document of the church and look at how did we propose? How did we propose to deal with that as a strategic issue? So we will go to that document and see how we came up with strategic issues. Okay. Okay, this is how we came up with the strategic issues. The list is wide. Thank you. We're here. This is how we came up with strategic issues as a chapter, as a 4.1 strategic issues. Strategic objective and strategies, yes. So one of the strategic issues for this body, for this church particularly, was to make a word-rich church. Remember, we discovered from the limitations that there were no good programs that would nurture the people learning and reading the word. The Bible studies, the programs of teachings were not very effective. And so, because of that, and because of several analyses, remember when you come to a strategic objective, you discuss with the team and panel and see an issue that is appearing as a weakness or as a strength. Many times, repeatedly, it calls for a strategic action. And therefore, when you're collecting data, out of 20, for example, 10 people are saying our record keeping is in a bad shape. 10 out of 15 are saying record keeping is an issue. So you can always now see that because of the magnitude of this discussion, it deserves to be given its strategic objective so that it's supposed to be addressed at that point. If you ignore something that has appeared in the data several times, you'll be ignoring what is supposed to make the organization better. And so we came up with one of the strategic objectives was to make a word-rich church. And what are the strategies that are supposed to ensure that is done? Enhance topical sermons delivered by well-prepared teachers of the word, deliver proper teaching on biblical principles, invite preachers and teachers who embrace sound doctrine, introduce and enhance Bible studies, enhance members to go to Bible school, prepare and share the members' Bible reading schemes per year, establish an e-library for Christian materials within the church facility. So this is an example of how then we came up with the strategic objective for that case. There are so many strategic objectives that are listed here, but because of time, we only go into one. So the one strategic objective is well defined. Once we have done the strategic objective, ladies and gentlemen, we come to what we call the implementation. Because we have already come up with strategic objective. What are we supposed to is now to talk about how do we implement it. Let's go to our book, our document. Okay, drafting, good. So now this takes us to the next slide. It's an example of strategic objectives and how that is we've already captured. We have seen one there. And then now implementation framework. Remember, we have already looked at how strategic objective would come up with from the analysis scanning. Now we come up with how do we implement this document, the framework. One of the things that we are using to do the implementation is to come up with what's called an implementation matrix, and a purely implementation matrix that now tells us exactly how we are going to implement this document. Then we can come up with how we are going to institutionalize this operation so that it becomes part of the policies of the document. Yes, we are going to implement, but let this be part of the practice for this organization. And then in the same chapter of implementation matrix, we come up with how do we come up with the resource implication and budgeting, and how do we raise resources to meet the implementation aspect of it. Then we also develop the critical assumption and risk analysis for that organization. And so, good. So after looking at it, are you able to see that screen?
Yes, we are on a strategic implementation framework.
Good, good. Now let's see how we came up with the framework. Today it is too much of changing. So that now we see how did we come up with a framework to implement, which we have proposed in the document. Let me take a pick on. Let me just pick on the church. Let me pick on the church. PCA. Allow PCA to run. Yes. Those are objectives. So many of them based on what we found out. This is an implementation matrix, a framework to implement the document. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Good, good.
Yes.
Now, one of the objectives that we came up with, ladies and gentlemen, when we did the scanning of this organization or this church, was to do enhanced spiritual growth as an objective. And so this objective requires strategies, requires activity, requires verifiable indicators, and the cost implication to that particular case, and the person responsible and the frequency of doing the same. So let's look at this first case. We just look at 1 and 2 only, then we will wind up with the other part. So strategic objectives to enhance spiritual growth. A good one, number one. What are the strategies of ensuring that is achieved? To preach and teach 40 Sundays. So these are targets we are already creating, strategies. Activities, what are the activities? Schedule teaching sessions, schedule preaching sessions. So that the sessions are scheduled. We know this person is supposed to do this person is supposed to address this and this and this, and this matrix of implementation. How do we know? How do we measure that? The verifiable indicators will have increased membership. If that is done, if that achievement, that objective is implemented, we'll have an increased membership, we'll have an improved spiritual growth among the members, we'll have an improved membership or members who are committed, and increased number of workers. Then what's more bread in the storehouse. More bread in this case, we are meaning more collections. If this is implemented, what is the cost of implementing this? Preaching, scheduling, and Sundays, the cost comes at 1.344 million. How did we come up with the cost? We sit down and see what does scheduling cost? Are there allowances that are given to the priests? Are there a cost of technology that is supposed to be done to ensure that there's a continuous preaching in the church that would cost? So we have to do quantitative establishment of the cost that will be included here. Remember, I think Dr. Amolo had asked if you should put a budget. Yes, it has a budget. It has a cost. So every objective has its own cost implication. that you have analyzed from the collection. But finally, when you go to an annexure, you are able to see how did we get to 1.3 million in split. You split how did we get to 1.3 million for us to say the cost of objective one will be this amount. And then who is going to be responsible for scheduling and teaching? The minister and the elders. The frequency is regularly. That is just one objective and how is going to be done. So we will not belabor so much of that. I was guiding just on one item. And so the implementation matrices are more and more and more, with each case having its support and the budgetary allocation. Let's go to the other chapter, stop presenting, so that we get back to our book, to our document. Okay. So once we have come up with the implementation, we have come up with the procedures and activities and verifiable indicators. If the goal is implemented, we come to what we call control and evaluation. How do we now control, monitoring the entire thing? We have to clearly describe who's going to be responsible for what. What is the level of accountability per goal or activity? Performance monitoring. How are we going to conduct monitoring and evaluation? How are we going to do this as agreed document? So you have to write the method you are going to use to do performance monitoring, describing individual responsibility, and also being able to do an evaluation. And the period of evaluation, you must really write how that will be done. Then you have to come up with a conclusion in that chapter. I want us to see how we did the monitoring and evaluation, how we wrote the document on monitoring and evaluation for our school now. Just that the documents are many, we would have done even for business. I know we'll be interacting more so that we can see how many other documents are done. Okay, so let's see how the other one would be for the school. Okay. Okay. Are you able to see? Are you able to see something, members?
No.
Okay. How the implementation aspect of this document, these are objectives and the method of analysis. Let's get to the last chapter, which is the monitoring and evaluation. How are we planning to do monitoring and evaluation for this document? So you have to really describe how the process will be undertaken. I've taken an example for the school, how the entire process of monitoring will be undertaken, and providing tools that are going to be used. Like now, one of the things that we do is to come up with an M&E plan. One of the tools that are to write in that document how the M&E plan will be undertaken. So you come up with an M&E plan. Strategic objective one is to set up M&E committee charged with the responsibility of detecting variance and establishing intervention mechanism. So one of the objectives of an M&E plan is to be able to come up with a team that will be able to be checking progress and be able to create an intervention quickly before it gets late. What will be the strategic activities? Establish an M&D committee, set a mandate, describe what they'll be doing, set an M&D committee, establish a reporting system, define corrective measures and variances. So objective number one of an M&D plan in the aspect of monitoring and control is to set up an M&D committee that will be doing that, so that now that committee will do the strategies and what have you. But you must write clearly what will be the committee responsible for and what will be their output, the functional M&D. So when you have a functional monitoring and evaluation committee, that's an output, the outlined mandate, so that you clearly define what will be the role of that committee individually and as a corporate, as a body. Then we have to do a reporting system. How are we going to do the reporting? Annually, monthly, weekly, in which form? Describe the form that will be used. Then mitigation measures, how will mitigation measures be done? So basically the committee will be able to highlight these things when they are constantly meeting to evaluate the progress. Who is going to be responsible? The board of management, the principal, the Ministry of Education is also responsible, the teacher service commission is responsible, and the donors or the sponsors of that school are also responsible. Who are involved? The principal, the PA, the Parents Association, the director of studies, the teachers, support staff and students, all of them are involved. Time frame is continuous. So when the body is in place, the committee is in place, you are able to now start charting the mandate and the practice that is supposed to be undertaken by the team. So ideally, a plan, a monitoring plan would look like that. The risk analysis, of course, anticipating what will be the possible risks that will come out and how are you going to address those risks under the plan. It's also important to indicate the possible risks and assumptions that we are doing as we come up with the objective. With assumption that we may be, one of the assumptions is that we'll be able to raise money enough to implement the plan, that the circumstances will remain constant and things will not change. But we must anticipate having the scenario approach, the scenario, worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and developing that. And for the purpose of coming up with our appendices, or what's called annexures, an attachment. One of the key things is to have to come up with a key performance indicator. What will really be an indicator that we have done academic performance? For example, if that was an objective, we need to have a mid-grade. KCC mid-grade will show that performance has really happened. The last grade, we're looking at how they are performed again, will also give us a picture to understand if there's a performance. At that time it was JAB, yes, but it's CUSPS. We have a number of scoring exam paper marks, scoring exam paper mark, and entry level from 1. When we have a bigger entry level, we shall always know that the performance has been better, because if the performance is not good, the entry level will be low. So the entry level also indicates on the key performance indicator, which is performance of academic performance. So objectives that we come up with, they form what go key performance areas or the key results areas. All objectives, they form the key results areas. And now we measure what will be the situation looking like with the implementation or not implementation of that mandate or that particular key results area. So it's an annexure. For the purpose of a school, another appendix or annexure is to be able to attach how the school has been performing and how you have set the matrices. For example, for this school, we said 2022, 2023, 2024, up to 2026. And we gave a margin that they should grow. That in this particular case, these subjects must perform up to this. We have set the targets for them and given them a plan of action up to finally, for example, in the paper of English, in the year 2026, they should be getting a mean score of 7.99 based on the data we have collected and analysis that we come up with. And so, another appendix or an annexure is what called a service charter. Both organizations and schools and institutions need to have a service charter. If they don't have one, it has to be developed. And it's also a tool to measure that really the objective we have come up with are being implemented. For example, if we say a gate pass is supposed to be issued, and how long should it be taken? It is serious as 5 minutes as it is. So we use such tools to measure such kind of performance as an attachment. Then we had how did we do the school finances, or the institutional finances, the budget, the income. It has to be described as an extra. That's where we get the attachment of the budget. You see down here, the budget. The budget will sit there. Then we have also come up with a Gantt chart as an extra. A Gantt chart now splits down specific tasks with the responsibility, the start time, the finish time, the duration it will take for it to be completed. For example, renovate the current, construct and equip a 400 capacity dormitory. That is a task. Under work, we extract it from the work breakdown structure. Remember, for planning, we cover work breakdown structure. Implementation as well, we now also use the Gantt chart. We start 2023, by 2025, we finish 3 years. We should have accomplished that. So these are sample Gantt charts for those members who have not interacted with what a Gantt chart will be. There are several types of Gantt charts that will be complex, but at this level, we came up with a simpler Gantt chart that describes how much it will cost, when will it be started, and when will it end. Then the budget, I said the proposed budget, expenditure, and the budget. The school must, as an institution or an organization, must come up with a budget. So this one tells us, no, as we said, we will use 1.2 million to build this structure. Where are we going to get the money? You have to tell us this money has either from the strategies or the plans we have come up with, as opposed to yield to this kind of results. And so we attach this document as a budget, where the money will come from and how it should be utilized, a budget discussion. Then basically, if necessary, to attach a history, but history will be already have covered at the introduction level. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that would inform how the document of a strategic plan will look like. Okay. Okay, and now we go to our document. So that is how we should now write our strategic plan document. Well, it has been long. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Now that is ideally how a document should be written with the key specific areas. Thank you for those who are clapping for me. It's been a strained technological gap, but we are here. Thank you, thank you. I received them. I received the greetings from diaspora. Still don't come to be mute. Yes, back to you, Diana, now.
Thank you so much for that. I guess we have. Maybe you can mute your mic. So we have gone through the whole process of an integrated strategic plan from the start, from what each part of a strategic plan stands for and what it entails, to finally drafting one. We haven't really gone deeper into it, but at least you have seen that the trainer is actually talking about something that he does every day, something that he drafts every day. So it's out of experience. So all the content that we've had since the start till now is practical knowledge, practical explanation to how a strategic plan is done. I'm so happy that among you there are those who have already gotten into the practice of drafting strategic plans for different companies, ministries. Getting your feedback is very uh, it gives us much joy to know that the content that we're putting out there is already helping someone who is already getting started into becoming a strategic consultant, a strategic consultant, or you know how to do the plan itself. So let's get into the question and answer session. Being the last class on strategic planning, you have to ask all the questions that you have, even if it means asking from the first one, from day one to the last one to today's session. You're free to ask any question at any point. So this was just a teaser. If you want to get right into the career itself, now that is on another level. But now this is has demonstrated and has shown what a strategic plan is. So I'm opening the floor to anyone with a question, anyone with a concern, anyone with an issue regarding the training that we've had. This is your time. I'll invite Geoffrey. You have your hand raised. You can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana, for giving me this opportunity. I also want to give special appreciation to the trainer for walking us through this journey. I've gained something, and I really appreciate. So, two issues. One, of course, today the network was on off, but somehow the presentation has been a success. So, my request is it possible that the trainer shares a sample or strategic plan, a draft, because this one he was sharing, but I think because it was on off, we didn't capture. So that if you can share that, we can be able to relate with what we have learned and be able to develop a strategic plan. Then number two, from his perspective and knowledge and experience, um, maybe do you think what you have shared with us here is enough to make us, if people who want to pursue or develop a strategic plan for the organization, is it enough, or you feel maybe for those who want to master, they should be able to go further, or this one that we have shared is something that the committed students for what you took us through should be able to do something for the organization? So I think those are the two issues that I wish the trainer to respond.
Okay, you can unmute and answer the question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nyongesa. Address the first thing. Sharing of the draft document, the draft strategic plan, that can be done at a personal level, not on the group, because of confidentiality. You can get to me at private level so that you can share a draft that is not copyrighted, maybe, so that we can provide information about that. So I think my contacts have been shared all through, so anyone who needs assistance beyond that which has been provided in class can still get in touch so that we provide the necessary support. Then number two, is this program enough to make you able to do yes and no? Why is it not yes? Is because all these things are done through seasoned processes. You have an idea to start, and then when you get stuck, you raise a hand to be assisted, and that is why we came up with this program and be able to graduate this team to the next level of mentorship. The graduation that we are coming up with on the 15th of June already is connecting you now the do, the deed, the real acts of doing the strategic plan, so that we work hand to hand in terms of developing one, reviewing one, writing one. Because you see, at the virtual class level, it's a bit difficult to say now write this sentence. But when we'll be interacting on the material day, and I'm hoping that all of us, the 50 who are logged in, will be in that graduation, we can interact and start sharing now contact, because our network has begun. So that now you are mentored, you have started, where are you getting stuck as a body. Because remember, This is a network of many rich, knowledgeable men and women in the country and outside the boundary that are doing the same work. So you work with the people who are already doing it. And that is why when we go to a driving school, with a driving license, you still go back to the streets and get people to help you drive. And when you are able to be stable on the road, you are left to go. And so the only way at this point, you are still staggering. You don't have the knowledge, but you are staggering. So let's get to the point now when we have interacted, we are sharing knowledge and insights, we help you walk the journey. And from there, we can leave you run on your own. However, we are still coming up with other programs in the advanced stage where we'll be having advanced diploma and diploma in strategic planning. Those are programs that we are also planning to have come up with. Some will require a bit of physical so that we connect and agree to some grouping so that we are able to have tasks that are done by groups for the purpose of being able to understand and do these things very well. So I hope I've answered Mr. Nyongesa.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Any other question? If you have a question, if you have a concern, this is the time to ask.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you for the wonderful work. So far, we have gone through so well, and only that at the beginning I've had some issues where I was not filling the forms, and so I've not gotten any certificate, although I was there from the beginning. So I would request that you consider that. Consider me on that.
Okay, thank you, Apostle. I know Diana will be able to address that. You
Yes.
can get in touch with Diana. She'll be able to be of help about that. And continue learning, getting into our programs because, again, of course, the basket one and the community breakthrough support is keen on the aspect of policy of attendance. And you see, the only evidence of attendance is this register. But get in touch with Diana, she will provide a better solution for you so that you don't miss out on critical things. Thank you.
Robert Otiende.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It's been great. I only have a question. Are we able to get the slides of the representations through email? Thank you.
Okay, regarding the slide, once we have issued certificates, I guess we are hoping that those who completed the course will get access to the slides later on. So if you have been attending the session throughout diligently, we can create a provision where you will be able to access the slides. But at the moment, let's continue using the content on YouTube.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Then I'll invite Petrolina. Petrolina, you can unmute and ask.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Mine is just a concern, just for a better understanding, and also allow me to just share what caught my eye from the time we started this training. I can talk about common tools for the performance measurement. That is the KPIs, the 360-degree feedback, performance appraisals, management by objectives. Such are the things that we do, and it was so interesting that I had to really like follow up. It was a motivating me. Well, now I saw the pictures of aggregation, and I needed to know because I saw guys with gowns, and you know where there is aggregation, there are gowns, and where there are gowns, we need to cater for it, or how are we going to get the gowns, or what is the plan? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that comment about the performance measurement. About the gowns, number one, anybody who has registered up to that point for graduation will be given a gown. The gown will be available on the prior to the date that we have 13th, 14th, and 15th. So on 14 grounds will be available for those who have gone through the process and have registered to be given their gowns. So we have a colorful graduation and you must be gowned. So the gowns will be available.
Thank you so much for the clarity.
Eric Kimoli.
Diane, can I say something?
Okay, you can proceed.
Madam Diana?
Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Wesonga, this has been a wonderful presentation and enriching one. All of us have learned, we have been listening to you, and you have actually demonstrated the strategy in training. We really appreciate the same. However, Mr. Wesonga and Diana Doreen and Sylvia Sarah Warubengo, the CEO for Basket One, I have a request. I've seen in my inbox people saying some of them they wish to be part of the graduation, but they have missed one or two lessons and they want to be guided on the next what they do so that they also participate in the graduation. And some of them have missed one, another has say have missed two. At least three or four people have inboxed me. I want to say that I will talk to my colleagues, the committee that arranges the training after this, then we will come back to you. But Mr. Wesonga, if you have something that you can comment on that, I'll really be very, very, very happy because these are stakeholders who feel they need to participate, but due to some circumstances, they have missed one class or two class. Thank you, Mr. Wesonga.
Okay, thank you, Dr. It's quite unfortunate that people